Mobi be a kwabashon kopa esabe nkasa TV. A flag bearer for the NDC party, former President John Dramani Mahama Edinson bi ababontin say nyame adom na manga na ma eboa no netumi ebeye president bi o a niema bi o ye twema amo manga no be make sure say sa niema no onye bi niema bi ti say unemployment dum so chese ahodo bebe allowances and nurses twen ye anemba nyina ye mposia chese abushafo mo akasa moni tua say o manga na ye kwa ho kire bi a etwemu 4 years 8 years back. Na misama former President John Dramani Mahama Edituja say mo boano no timi be president nyame adoma 2024 obe making sure say bosun akwakwaje ediba be Ghana ye no yemfa ensihu bia ensihu collateral bia nso eni ho so onfa Ghana ye projects bia enkosi awowa na Sabidachi bi enyeska ankwa akotua na chese abrofo no aba befa adiso ensa bebre na former President John Dramani Mahama Edituja we nam so ama Dr. Bawumia enya akwan a ono so chere na adwe no first now na say first sentence I will make it say former president and I say former President John Dramani Mahama Koraa same way nyina onke nyina ntro a wo twa chere Ghana man enti ebe make sure say na me adoma 2024 ebe also obiara police stations ahodo o using the kokomoti na order to aba no vice president Dr. Bawumia the flag bearer for the NPP party same bebre and a vice president Dr. Bawumia Dr. Bawumia Edituja me pese me so bra no adaje ne kame wan ye hoti nsema Dr. Bawumia kan ansa na no subscribe like comment won kasa be sure so be share link na ma me wi so o be recommend this channel be note this channel Kasa TV to many people, platforms and pages.
Than 4 years of doomsday that Ghanaians had to endure 4 years. Jobs lost, people died, businesses collapsed, because of doomsday. It's a serious occurrence that Ghanaians lived under. You had a situation where the National Health Insurance Scheme had reverted to cash and carry. That was real hardship because people who were poor, who could not afford the cash to carry, were not given health care. The card wasn't being accepted. So, because the government could not pay the service providers, you had these huge arrears. And so there was real hardship. The ambulance service basically had collapsed. You had no working ambulance services, very few ambulances. And so if you look at the impact of there not being an ambulance service, that's a lot of suffering for people who need an ambulance. In fact, the new ambulances that have been provided have shown, and when you look at the data, the calls that have increased, means a lot of lives are being saved. Without of that, the hardships of the teacher trainees who got their allowances cancelled, and they were reliant. And a lot of these teacher trainees, in fact, they were having families that relied on these allowances. The allowances of the nursing trainees were also cancelled. Arabic instructors' allowances cancelled. You look at the recruitment, the job situation. We had so much unemployment under their regime. And that unemployment, we even had a graduates unemployed association, right? For the first time in our history. That unemployment, was the result of their government's inability to get the private sector going and also to recruit into the public service, because there was a freeze on recruitment. So you would find nurses would finish for 4 years and they would be sitting at home after their training. Same with teachers and so on. And there was no recruitment. Agric extension officers, no recruitment. There was just so much unemployment in there, and that was hardships to people who could not find a job to do. Teachers were paid 3 months for 3 years work, right? The 3-month pay policy, right? So these were real hardships that people were enduring. under the NDC. Doomsor is over under the NPP. We've restored teacher training allowance. We've restored nursing training allowance. We've restored Arabic instructors allowance. We've rebuilt the National Ambulance Service. One constituency, one ambulance. We've rejuvenated the agricultural sector, increased growth from about less than 3% to over 8%. Ghana is now exporting 19 different crops to our neighboring countries. We have moved up in terms of food security in the Global Food Security Index from a number 78 position in 2016 to 59 position now. So cocoa farmers are doing better. The living income differential, the access to fertilizer is much better. You have, as I said, one constituency, one ambulance. You are hiring people in the jobs. We've created close to over 2 million jobs that we have created across the chain. Planting for Food and Jobs, Nation Builders Call for graduates, 100,000. The teachers, over 90,000. The nursing and health personnel, over 90,000. Afforestation jobs. We have created a lot of jobs. NEIP, over 90,000 jobs, and so on. So when you talk about suffering, the National Health Insurance is working again. When you talk about suffering, for sure, we have reduced suffering. That's the point. We haven't eliminated suffering. I think that is always going to be a work in progress as you deal with the economy. You cannot say you have eliminated suffering. But compared to what we inherited from the NDC, we have reduced a lot of suffering. Free senior high school is saving parents 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. Now, that would have been money they would have had to pay. And a lot of suffering. A lot of mothers had to sell their precious possessions, and fathers had to look for money to just send the kid to school. A lot of girls that you would have seen doing KIA today are going to school that you're seeing. In fact, one of my friends said that maids are difficult to find in Accra these days because the kids are all going to school, and the parents have come and taken them and they're going to school. They were suffering before. The free SHS has reduced that suffering. So we are doing a lot of targeted things, expanded the school feeding program by 78%, LEAP program expanded it by 53%. In just first term, so we are doing a lot that is reducing the suffering of our people. We have not eliminated it, but we are in a much, much better position. The economy is in a much, much better position to deliver better livelihoods. You've never seen a government, Nanaya, in this country that says free water for 9 months or free electricity for lifeline consumers for 9 months. It has never happened.
Well, but you raise a question there that I wanted to ask you, because this story of success and unquestionable upward swing, ending 2019 on the year of return and the high that brought and the fantastic economic performance of 2019, was of course partly derailed by the advent of COVID, which without question has knocked all countries across the world for six. So do you not think that there is some justification in the sense that, as the NDC would put it, the trajectory that we took, which they see it as a high borrowing and high spending approach to get us to the point where we ended 2019, has been knocked off course by 2020? Well,
I think that what is clear, as you have said, Nanaya, is that COVID has really impacted adversely almost every economy in the world because of its impact on growth, its impact on government revenues, and so on. And Ghana has not been left out. We have also been impacted. And the Minister of Finance had to go back to Parliament to present a revised budget given the implications of COVID. Before COVID, we were looking at deficits of under 5%, given the fiscal rule that we had been operating under since 2017 coming into play. We really had brought down the deficits to under 5%. Right? And that was a remarkable achievement all through to 2019. Of course, COVID presented a different case where we had to come in and protect lives and livelihoods, right? Whether it's Germany, whether it's the UK, whether it's America, even Angela Merkel said, we are not going to be looking at the statistics now. We're going to be looking at lives, right? So the president, you know, very, very smartly said, you know, right now, economic management is going to be focused on protecting lives and livelihoods. We want to save our people from COVID. Right? And so the deficit, because revenues are falling, expenditures have to go up also to protect lives and livelihoods, PPEs, and you know, when you ask people to stay home, they use more electricity. We want people to wash their hands, and we have to give incentives to businesses which were collapsing, and we have to give incentives to the health sector, professionals who are saving our lives. So when you look at all of that, it meant the expenditures had to go up, even in the face of declining revenues. But we knew that this was something we had to do to save the economy, because we knew how to manage the economy. We knew how to get this economy growing again. As the